The room fell silent as my father's voice boomed across the engagement party hall. "Nathaniel, what in God's name are you doing?" His eyes were wide with horror as he stared at Maxwell and me, our lips still brushing from the kiss I had finally given in to after years of denial. What I didn't expect was how this one moment would shatter the perfect life I had constructed and force me to face the truth I'd been running from since college. The party was supposed to celebrate my engagement to Emily, the woman my parents had quietly approved of for 2 years. We were on the rooftop of a sleek Chicago high-rise, the skyline glittering like a promise of the future I was supposed to want. My father, Robert, a partner at the biggest law firm in the city, had toasted to tradition and legacy just minutes earlier. My mother smiled beside him, her pearls catching the light. Relatives chatted in clusters, and colleagues from my investment banking job clapped politely. Maxwell had stood to my right as my best friend and best man, the one person who always made the weight on my chest feel lighter. I had pulled him aside into the small private lounge when the pressure became too much. "I can't do this anymore," I whispered, my hands shaking. He looked at me with those warm green eyes, the same eyes that had listened to every late-night doubt I'd ever shared since we met in business school 10 years ago. Without thinking, without planning, I leaned in and kissed him. For one perfect second, the world stopped. Then the door opened, and my father stood there, frozen. "Nathaniel, explain yourself," he demanded, his voice low and dangerous. Maxwell stepped back, his face pale, but he didn't run. Emily appeared behind my father, her expression shifting from confusion to hurt in an instant. "What's happening?" she asked, her voice small. Guests began to murmur, phones discreetly raised. I felt the blood drain from my face as the reality crashed down. This wasn't just a kiss. It was the end of the lie I had built to make everyone happy. My father grabbed my arm and pulled me toward the exit. "We're leaving now." The car ride home was silent except for the rain hitting the windshield. Chicago's lights blurred past as I stared out the window, my mind racing through every consequence. My job at the bank depended on family connections. My apartment was in a building my parents helped finance. The ring in my pocket felt like a burning coal. When we reached their house in the suburbs, my father turned to me in the driveway. "This ends tonight. You will apologize to Emily, you will fix this, and you will never see that man again. Do you understand?" His words landed like punches. I nodded because I didn't know what else to do, but inside, something was already cracking open. That night in my old childhood bedroom, I stared at the ceiling, replaying the kiss. Maxwell had not pulled away. For the first time, I admitted to myself what I had known deep down since the day we shared our first honest conversation about feeling different. I was in love with him. And now the secret was out. The phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was Maxwell. "Are you okay? Call me when you can." I didn't answer. How could I explain that one moment of honesty had just cost me everything I thought defined me? The next morning my mother called. "Your father is devastated, Nathaniel. He says if you don't end this nonsense, he'll have to rethink your future at the firm. Think about your sister, your nieces. Think about us." I sat on the edge of the bed, the weight of their expectations pressing down harder than ever. Emily texted next. "I deserve an explanation. Meet me for coffee." I agreed, but every step toward the cafe felt like walking toward a firing squad. When I arrived, she was already there, eyes red. "Is it true? Are you with him?" I couldn't lie anymore. "It's complicated," I said, but the words felt like betrayal to both of them. She stood up. "I thought we had something real. I guess I was wrong." She left without looking back. Back at my apartment, I finally called Maxwell. His voice was steady but worried. "I never meant to cause this, Nathaniel. If you want me to disappear, I will." The offer hurt more than anything. "No," I said quickly. "I don't want that. I don't know how to fix this." We talked for hours, the conversation circling around fear, guilt, and the tiny spark of hope that maybe this chaos was the beginning of something honest. By the time we hung up, I knew the real battle was just starting. My family had drawn a line, and I was standing on the wrong side of it for the first time in my life. The following week at work was torture. Whispers followed me in the hallways. My boss, a golf buddy of my father's, pulled me into his office. "Your personal life is your business, but the firm has an image. Fix it quietly." I nodded, but inside I felt the walls closing in. That evening, Ryan, my college roommate and supposed closest friend, showed up at my door unannounced. Dude, the whole group chat is blowing up. What happened at the party? I tried to brush it off, but he kept pushing. If you're going through something, you can tell me. I almost did. Almost. Instead, I said it was a misunderstanding. He left looking doubtful. Alone again, I sat on the balcony overlooking the lake, the city lights reflecting on the water like scattered stars. Maxwell texted a photo from his studio, a simple shot of the Chicago River at dawn. Thinking of you. No pressure. The image made my chest ache with possibility. For the first time, I let myself imagine a life where I didn't have to choose between love and family. But imagining was one thing. Acting on it was another. The psychological weight of that choice kept me awake until dawn, the first of many sleepless nights ahead. The days blurred into a haze of forced normalcy. I went to work, smiled at meetings, and pretended the cracks in my life weren't widening. My father called every evening with the same message. Fix it, Nathaniel. Your mother is worried sick. I reassured him I was handling it, but the lies tasted like ash. Emily had blocked my number after our coffee meeting, and the engagement ring sat in a drawer like a relic from a different life. The only light came from Maxwell. We met in secret at his small graphic design studio in Wicker Park, the kind of place with exposed brick and plants everywhere. The first time after the party, he opened the door and just pulled me into a hug. No questions, no demands. You don't have to explain anything tonight, he said. We sat on the worn couch, sharing takeout Thai food, and talked about everything except the explosion at the party. He told me about his latest project designing logos for a local nonprofit, his voice steady and calm. I listened, realizing how much I had missed this side of him, the side that didn't expect perfection. When the conversation lulled, he reached for my hand. Whatever happens, I'm here. No ultimatums from me. That night, I went home feeling lighter, but the relief was short-lived. My sister Lauren called the next morning. Dad told me everything. Nathaniel, how could you do this to us? Mom cried all night. Her words stung because Lauren had always been my ally, the one who defended my career choices when our parents pushed law school. Now even she sounded disappointed. Think about the family name. Think about the holidays. Are you really willing to throw that away? I hung up feeling smaller than ever. Work became a minefield. A colleague I thought was a friend cornered me in the break room. Heard about the party. If you need to talk. I shut it down quickly. But the damage was done. My promotion review was postponed indefinitely. The psychological pressure built like a storm. Every decision felt weighted. Answer my father's calls or ignore them. Meet Maxwell or stay away to keep the peace. I chose both, and the exhaustion started to show. Ryan texted me a week later asking to grab beers. We met at our usual spot near the river. He was unusually quiet at first. Look, man, I saw the photos someone posted from the party. People are talking. If you're gay, it's cool, but you gotta be smart about it at the firm. The word gay hit me like a slap. I had never said it out loud about myself. It's not that simple, I muttered. He pressed. Does Maxwell know how deep this goes? Because if he's just a phase, you owe it to Emily to fix it. His words planted doubt. Was I using Maxwell to escape my life? The thought kept me up that night. Maxwell sensed the shift when we met the next evening. We walked along the lake path at dusk, the city lights beginning to flicker on. You're pulling away, he said quietly. I get it. Your family is everything to you. I stopped walking. It's not that I want to. I just don't know how to be both the son they raised and the man I actually am. He didn't push. Instead, he shared his own story of coming out to his parents back in California years ago. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. The silence was worse. His words stayed with me as I drove home. The misunderstanding with Ryan deepened when he ran into my father at the country club and mentioned our conversation. My father called immediately. Ryan says you're confused. End this now, or I'll have to make decisions about your trust fund. The threat was clear. I confronted Ryan later. Why would you talk to my dad? He looked genuinely surprised. I thought I was helping. You seemed lost. The betrayal, even if unintentional, fractured our friendship. I felt utterly alone. Maxwell became my only anchor. One rainy Saturday, he drove me to a quiet park outside the city. We sat in his car, rain drumming on the roof, and I finally said the words. I think I'm gay, Maxwell. And I'm in love with you. He smiled softly. I've known for a while. I was waiting for you to know too. In that moment, the weight lifted slightly. But outside the car, the world waited with its demands. The psychological toll of living two lives started to wear me down. Decisions had consequences, and I was beginning to see how high the price might be. The confrontation with my family came faster than I expected. My father summoned me to the house for what he called a family meeting. My mother had set the dining table with her best china, but the atmosphere was anything but welcoming. Lauren sat beside her, arms crossed. "We love you, Nathaniel," my mother started, her voice trembling. "But this lifestyle, it's not who we raised you to be." My father cut in. "End it with that photographer, or you're out of the will. Simple as that." I sat there, heart pounding, the words I'd rehearsed evaporating. Maxwell had encouraged me to be honest. "I can't change who I am," I said finally. "And I won't give him up." The room erupted. My father slammed his fist on the table. "Then don't expect another dime from this family." Lauren started crying. "You're breaking Mom's heart." The guilt was crushing, but walking out that door felt like the first real choice I'd made in years. The next day at work, the rumors had reached HR. My boss called me in. "Take some personal time, Nathaniel. We need to protect the firm's reputation." I left with a box of my things, the humiliation burning. Maxwell met me at a coffee shop near his studio. "You don't have to go through this alone," he said, sliding a key across the table. "My place is yours if you need it." I took the key, but the fear of losing everything made me hesitate to use it. Emily's mother called next, accusing me of leading her daughter on. "She trusted you with her future." The misunderstanding spread like wildfire. Friends from college distanced themselves. Ryan sent a text, "Sorry if I made it worse." I thought I was helping. The apology felt hollow. The psychological consequences hit hard. I started questioning every decision that led to this moment. Had my silence caused more pain than the truth? Maxwell and I spent quiet evenings talking through it all. One night, he showed me photos from a trip we took years ago. "Even then I felt something," he admitted. His openness gave me courage. But when my sister showed up at my apartment unannounced, the conflict reignited. "Dad had a doctor's appointment today. Stress-related chest pains. Is this worth it?" The guilt nearly broke me. I called Maxwell afterward, voice shaking. "Maybe I should step back for a while." He was silent for a long moment. "If that's what you need, I understand. But don't disappear on me." The sacrifice felt necessary. I avoided Maxwell for a week, focusing on job applications and trying to rebuild some semblance of the life my family wanted. But the emptiness was unbearable. Late one night, I drove to his studio and knocked. He opened the door, eyes tired but kind. "I couldn't stay away," I said. He pulled me inside and we sat together until morning, the decision to keep fighting crystallizing in the quiet hours. The turning point was coming, but I didn't know it yet. The betrayal came from the last place I expected. My sister Lauren, trying to help the family, forwarded an old text thread to my extended relatives and a few work contacts. The messages were private conversations between Maxwell and me about coming out. Suddenly, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Uncles and aunts left voicemails demanding explanations. My cousin who worked in finance texted, "This is career suicide, Nathaniel." The secret was no longer contained. Maxwell was at my side when the storm hit. "We'll face it together," he promised. But the psychological toll was immense. I lost 2 job interviews when the rumors reached potential employers. Ryan called, angry now. "You never trusted me enough to tell me the truth." Now everyone's involved because of Lauren. Our friendship, already strained, cracked further. I felt the isolation closing in. My father had another health scare, chest pains that landed him in the hospital. The doctor said stress was a major factor. I rushed to his bedside, Maxwell waiting in the lobby out of respect. "This is your doing," my mother whispered when I arrived. The guilt was overwhelming. Maxwell encouraged me to stay and talk. "Tell him how you feel. No more hiding." I sat with my father for hours, the beeping machines the only sound at first. When he woke, I spoke from the heart. "I love you, Dad. But I can't be the person you want if it means losing myself." He looked at me for a long time. "I don't understand it, but I don't want to lose my son either." It wasn't full acceptance, but it was a crack in the wall. The major turning point came when I realized my decisions had real consequences for everyone, not just me. Back at Maxwell's place that night, I made a choice. I'm done hiding. Whatever comes next, we face it. He kissed my forehead gently. I'm proud of you. The growth felt slow but real. The misunderstandings with friends began to clear as I reached out honestly. Even Ryan agreed to meet and talk. The path was still hard, but I was no longer walking it alone. The climax built at the hospital follow-up appointment. My entire family gathered in the waiting room. When my father saw Maxwell standing beside me, he stiffened. "He's with me," I said clearly. "And I'm not choosing between you." The room went quiet. Lauren started to argue, but my mother placed a hand on her arm. "Let him speak." I laid everything out. The years of hiding, the love I felt for Maxwell, the fear of losing them all. Maxwell stood quietly supportive, his presence giving me strength. My father looked at both of us for a long moment. "I won't pretend I understand. But you're still my son." It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. The emotional release was overwhelming. Tears came as years of tension broke. Maxwell squeezed my hand. The sacrifice had been real, but the reward was authenticity. Friends slowly returned. Ryan apologized fully over beers one night. "I was wrong to push. I want to support you." The loyal bonds that survived made the fractured ones easier to accept. Work opportunities began to appear again as I started my own consulting firm with Maxwell's encouragement. The psychological growth was profound. I no longer defined myself by their expectations. One weekend, Maxwell and I drove to the lake house my family owned. My mother invited us. It was awkward at first, but conversations happened. Small steps toward understanding. The journey had changed me. I was no longer the man who hid. I was the man who chose love. Months later, life had settled into a new rhythm. Maxwell and I shared an apartment overlooking the river, our days filled with work, laughter, and quiet evenings. My father still struggled with full acceptance, but he called on Sundays and asked about my projects. My mother sent recipes and invited us to dinner. Lauren had started therapy and was slowly coming around. The societal pressure hadn't vanished, but my ability to face it had grown. Maxwell and I stood on the same rooftop where everything exploded, the city lights stretching endlessly below. "I never thought we'd get here," I said. He smiled, pulling me close. "You chose yourself. That's what made it possible." The kiss we shared this time was free of fear. The journey of self-discovery, love, and acceptance had reshaped every relationship in my life. Friendships that survived were stronger. Family bonds, though tested, held new honesty. And the love between Maxwell and me had become the foundation I never knew I needed. Decisions had consequences, but every sacrifice led to this moment of peace. I had stepped out of the shadows and into the light. True or false? True love is worth losing your family's approval?